Thank you so much. Now, we're going to take Roger's analysis one step further with Paul Kelly, a principal in Silvermine Consultants in Connecticut. Tim Simmons, who hosts PLMALive's monthly interviews, found Paul has more questions than answers as he tries to make sense of the future.
Thanks, Jody. Paul, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Okay. One of the biggest questions facing retailers these days, big retailers, supermarkets and traditional retailers, is the rise of the alternate formats, the discounters and the dollar stores. Do you think that supermarkets have the right answers to win these customers back?
I think it's going to be very challenging for them in a lot of ways. It's not just a price issue with dollar stores. I think it's a perception of what is product really worth. And I think it's going to be hard for the traditional retailers to kind of grab that back and make some case for that. I think it also is a problem because of one of the things we'll talk about later, I think, is this limited assortment moves that some of the mainstream retailers are doing. You can offset a low price by having a broad range of products, but if you're trying to do both, it's a difficult challenge. I think probably some percentage will migrate back just because of the economy, but I think there's probably a hard core that'll be very difficult to get back that have found dollar stores and like them for a variety of reasons.
Do you see if the economy comes back really strong, let's say it bounces back very strong this year, do you think that'll have much of an impact?
Well, number one, I don't think it's going to bounce back particularly strong, but if it does, again, I would think some percentage would migrate back just for the selection and for the ability to shop different categories. But I think there's going to be a hardcore who like the dollar store, who found it, discovered it, and really enjoy it and appreciate it. So I think it's going to be hard for them to get maybe 40% of that migration will come back, 60% may stay at least divided.
Do you think that the appeal of the dollar stores and the Aldi type stores are primarily with lower income shoppers, or are they appeal to a broader spectrum?
I see when I go into the parking lots of some of those stores, I see some Lexuses and Mercedes. I think there's the affluent are affluent for a reason. They know how to save money. So I think for particular categories, particular items, I think it has a broader appeal than just lower income.
You said it's an opportunity for private label. Why do you think so, this whole SKU rationalization?
Well, I think the model seems to be go with one or two national brands, eliminate all the Me Too products and go with a strong private label offering. And it depends on the category, of course, but most categories seem to be going that way. And private label is going to be, end cap, displayed, all those kinds of things as far with national brands, and it's like it's part of the mix now. It's much more like Europe than the Americas have been. So I think it's a big opportunity for private label. I would not want to be a third market share, fourth market share branded product with a limited assortment, because there's not that much to offer, and we see evidence of that happening all the time.
Maybe the biggest question that faces retailers now in this economy is the whole issue of street money and trade promotional allowances. As private label keeps gaining market share, retailers may not be getting the same kind of allowances that they got, promotional money that they got before. What's your opinion about this?
I think it's going to be a war, basically. I mean, I think if you look at
it is a war, or it's going to be a war.
Well, it's the rumblings. It's a skirmish at the moment, but it could become. I think what you have seen is kind of this consolidation of the retail trade first. Now you see consolidation of manufacturers. There's enough big players, the Proctors and the Nestles and the Krafts of the world, that it's pretty much an even playing field with the branded manufacturers now. Obviously, there's some smaller players underneath, but promotional money isn't just for promotions. It's to stay on the shelf, to have presence, to have visibility. There's a whole range of, and to build new brands and things like that. So there's a patience factor. I think if they don't see that happening, if who doesn't see that, if the manufacturers don't see that happening, there's going to be a withdrawing of some of that funding. Now, I think it could be made up. I mean, I think it's long-term a very good thing, because we forgot how to make money by selling products. There's so much behind the scenes, inside margin kind of compensation that, I mean, there's many retailers that know, but some retailers I don't think remember how to do that, to say, here, buy a product low and sell it high. So I think it's a good thing in terms of overall efficiency of the industry, but it's going to be some transitional
That's a polite way of saying it.
Yeah.
You talked about skirmishes. You expect any high-profile action this year, or?
I think if you see some major delistings from a manufacturer, I mean, I think most branded manufacturers are coming to market saying, this is our portfolio, we want to support the entire portfolio, not just the winners, but the growth brands, the transition brands. And actually they're milking some brands. They'll tell you themselves that they're harvesting brands and trying to ease them out, but they're doing it over time. I think retailers are going to want to cherry pick it and say, well, we want to just support your best products, your best sellers, which is a conflict. There's a story there for sure.
Well, we've already had Costco, who's a great private label marketer, just had a big showdown with Coca-Cola, which didn't last very long. But does that fit into the skirmish category?
I think so. And from what I've heard, Coke kind of lost that battle.
Is that right?
So, yeah. But I mean, that's there's these kind of, and that was about pricing. That wasn't even about distribution or visibility. It was about pricing, which to question Coke's judgment on what pricing should be when you can still buy a 2-liter bottle of Coke for 99 cents is pretty aggressive on Costco's part. So you got big players now, bulking up and kind of taking each other on. I think it's an interesting time.
Paul, I want to thank you very much for taking your time and telling us your thoughts about private label.
Okay, Brian. Now, one gets the clear impression that the next year or so could be a turning point in retail history. Now, yesterday I put you on the spot and I said permanent changes, no permanent changes. What are you seeing in our future?
Well, the word turning point, the phrase turning point is a very, very strong phrase because it suggests a real alteration, certainly a permanent alteration, in the way retailing is going on in the United States. The problem with predicting and analyzing turning points is you just don't see the turning point until after you've turned. So it will probably be several years before one can look back on 2010 and say, yes, that was the turning point. But having said that, I'm recalling a period when the mom and pop grocery was the way in which people shopped. And then as soldiers and sailors, Marines came back from World War II and suburbanization took place and supermarket chains really were born, a whole new way of shopping took place. The supermarket and the mom and pop grocery quickly, slowly disappeared. And I'm thinking that we're very likely to see that kind of turning point again. Now, is that turning point going to be the elimination of retailers? No, I don't think so. Retailers are generally very flexible and want to stay in business. But at the same time, there's a very different way in which people shop. They go to one store to buy bulk goods, paper and other things. They go to another one for their weekly shopping. And they go to perhaps a special store in order to buy macadamia nuts with chocolate fruit pies or whatever. So I think that turning point is going to be visible to us. And I think store brands will definitely benefit from that turning point. Most of the retailers who are on the other side of the turn are very strong private label retailers. And so for those who always ask the question, can private label in the United States reach the levels that we know it exists in Europe? The answer is that when that turn takes place, yes, it may be right around that corner.
So when we're sitting here in 2020, we'll be looking back and I'll be able to say to you, Brian, you predicted the turning point.
We're going to be able to smugly say we predicted the turning point, yes.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate
Thank you. It was good to be here.
Thank you. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that we were able to make events a little bit more understandable that's happening out there. From all of us at PLMALive, thank you so much, and we will see you with another special report on events and trends affecting our industry very, very soon. Join us.